Hello friends, this is Mike Williams back with another Paul is Dead analysis. This is part one of a three-part presentation I plan on putting together over the next several weeks. Part one, which is this video, will discuss the use of doubles and lookalikes throughout the Beatle timeline, and specifically focus on the Melody Maker Awards, which has perplexed many PID researchers. Part two will focus on the Vivian Stanshall and Phil Ackrell characters, and part three will delve into the Aleister Crowley and satanic aspects of the Beatles story. I will also be releasing a full-length presentation to take my audience through the highlights of the revised version of the Memoirs of Billy Shears. For those that have watched and listened to my December 2018 presentation titled The Beatles, Paul McCartney and the Grand Illusion, you will be familiar with my theory that the use of multiple doubles and lookalikes throughout the Beatle timeline was a common practice, and my theory has been confirmed by what we now learn in the updated version of Memoirs. I highly recommend reading the new edition of the book. There is a significant amount of new disclosure contained in the update, especially within the footnotes. If you watched my December 2018 presentation, you will be familiar with these slides. There were different iterations of Paul McCartney seen by the public over the years, and I will show you this via the upcoming slides. In that presentation, I made a case for two primary replacements who were in place before 1966. One, who I referred to as Street Paul, was not a musician but an actor and used for public appearances, and the other was a musician and a performer, and that part was played by Bill. And aside from the two permanent replacements, there were other actors who paged in and out playing the part over time. Since the internet as we know it began around 1990, it was my contention that many of the images were doctored starting in the 1960s in order to confuse and condition the public. This means that those controlling the PSYOP had 25 to 30 years to alter images along with photographing the various actors playing the role over that time span. The different actors and altering of photos is the main reason why many Paul is Dead researchers have difficulty deciphering who is who over the past 50 years or so. And now let's take a look at some of those pictures. As I have mentioned previously, after reading the first edition of Memoirs, I decided to put a collage of pictures together to see if the conspiracy was worth looking at, resulting in the slides we see here. And much to my amazement, the differences were not even subtle. For example, picture number 1, which is biological Paul, looks nothing like picture number 2, which is supposed to be Paul McCartney from the 1964 era. In picture number 3, we see a version of Paul that has a different nose in picture number 1, where the nostrils in picture number 3 are flared. Picture number 4 shows a longer chin and jawline, as does picture number 5. Picture number 6 has similarities to biological Paul, but it still looks very different than the other images. With picture number 7, we see yet again another version of Paul who looks nothing like picture number 8, and picture number 8 is clearly not the same person in picture number 1. So as we can see, this was starting to become very interesting. And so with that, let's take a look at some additional pictures. Again, with this collage, we have biological Paul in the number 1 position. Picture number 2 is allegedly a picture of Paul before Beatle fame, but in actuality, it appears to be a composite image morphing the face of Bio Paul and a replacement, most likely Bill Shepherd. Picture number 3 shows another actor playing Paul. Picture number 4 has the longer chin and beak nose, as does pictures number 5, 7, and 8. To me, picture number 6 has a close resemblance to Bio Paul, yet it's not quite there, and it's my opinion that pictures 4, 5, 7, and 8 are Bill Shepherd, and 3 and 6 are other actors. And now let's move to the next slide. Here's the footnote on page 127 of the updated version of Memoirs. The best way to know how Paul looks is to refer to his photographs. However, one complication is that many pictures said to be of Paul are of his doubles. Before and after Paul's death, all 4 Beatle positions had doubles that were used far more than most fans would imagine. William still uses his. For appearance, the elite favored one of the doubles used by Paul and William above the others, sometimes preferring him to Paul or William. His gift was to raise the right eyebrow remarkably high to create the Eye of Providence image. They intended their quote-unquote cute Beatle to promote their subliminal message. Paul did not, however, use doubles for album covers. They are Paul's most dependable photos. Furthermore, since the advent of Photoshop, there has been a flood of photographs of Paul with blended-in photographs of William. Some such images look real, others are sloppy. Upon finding such pictures, some people compare them to pictures entirely of William as if to prove that they are the same person. Don't be fooled. Stay with the album covers. And so that's the end of the quote from the book. Now, as we can see and hear, Bill is clearly telling us how this works. Doubles were used far more than fans would imagine, when in fact, many fans had no clue doubles were being utilized at all. This is what I was presenting in my December 2018 presentation, And I would like to note, I intentionally released my presentation prior to the revised version of Memoirs shipping, and I had no foreknowledge of what was going to be in the book. Now, some may not believe that, but that is the truth. So when we do photo comparisons, the cleanest pictures of Bio Paul need to be sourced from the album covers. An appearance by Paul that has perplexed many Paul is Dead researchers is the Melody Maker Awards, which Paul and Ringo attended on September 13, 1966. Of course, if Paul died on September 11th, then he couldn't attend an awards program on September 13th. This baffled me as well. I thought it was possible the awards ceremony was taped prior to September 11th. However, Memoirs tells us Tavistock brought in their very best double, and we are not looking at biological Paul. For me, this was jaw-dropping. The resemblance is remarkable. I highly suspect with the Melody Maker Awards that we are looking at Street Paul, who I believe is the same Paul we see in Magical Mystery Tour. And now from Memoirs, at the top of page 178, we read, quote, "Silencing the informed once and for all, Mal had Ringo accompanied by one of Paul's best doubles for a Melody Maker Awards broadcast. It refuted all evidence of Paul's death, and still does. We still use it." End of quote. Along with Bill telling us about the double used at the Melody Maker Awards, Tavistock dropped a subtle clue in the clothing. Notice the Paul double is wearing a conservative dark suit and tie, which is reminiscent of the 1962 through 1966 mop-top look of the Beatles, as well as donning attire one might wear to a funeral. Now notice Ringo. He is dressed in a bright suit jacket while wearing a bold polka dot shirt. Ringo is representing a new phase of the Beatles, the psychedelic era. Also, during the footage, Paul is on the left, indicating he is in the past as we move along the timeline, with Ringo positioned on the right, representing the future or the new phase of the Beatles. I should also mention that some researchers have pointed to this photo and called out how Paul is holding his award, which on close inspection does appear to look awkward. However, the revelation here according to Memoirs is this. At the Melody Maker Awards, we are looking not at biological Paul, but at an amazing double. The resemblance is mind-blowing. And that's it, my friends, for this presentation. Stay tuned for parts 2 and 3, which I will try to have out over the next several weeks. I will leave the comments section open. Feel free to share your thoughts, and thanks for watching.
I was walking down this dusty road.